Hello everybody and welcome on in to a very special Friday stream. 3 o'clock, we're 3 minutes late, very sorry about that, absolutely not my fault at all, definitely Martin's fault, who you'll meet in a second. But today we've got a very special panel for you. We're going to be talking all things accessibility in games, which is it's always should be a hot topic. It should be something that everybody talks about constantly, but this weekend especially, as it is SpecialEffect's 10th annual GameBlast weekend. For those of you that don't know who SpecialEffect's are, they are a charity that creates gaming accessibility setups, like personalised setups for people with disabilities that are otherwise not able to use like the standard retail configuration or standard controller setup. Today I actually have some special guests. It's not just me talking your ear off, it'll probably be mostly me talking your ear off, because if you've been on the channel before you'll know that I don't shut up. But I do have some special guests with me today who I'll show off to you now. Here they are. Here are your special guests for today. So we're going to go through some introductions. So I'll tell you a bit about myself, and then I will point to somebody. No, I'll not point to somebody. I will say their name, and then they can tell you like what they do and a little bit about themselves. Sometimes we have like a fun icebreaker question, but it's like I can't think of one apart from like
first game ever played.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. I was just about to say the thing that you have on toast, but I like that one better.
Okay, I'm happy to have thing on toast.
Let's do both.
Cool. Let's do both. Yeah.
We got time.
Are we cool with that?
We can do that. That's the best thing to have on toast. So first of all, I am your host. My name is Harry. Some people might know me as Daggers. I have worked for Secret Mode for just over a year now, and I've worked in the wider Sumo group for almost 3 years this July. I am the content producer for Secret Mode. The first game I ever played was Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, the first ever handheld Game Boy. It was a toss-up between that and Sonic, but I think it was Super Mario Land. And the thing that I have on toast the most, I like a classic buttered toast, but if I'm going interesting, I like bacon jam, which is a Gordon Ramsay recipe, which is basically like bacon and like sugar, and you can make it with veggie bacon as well. It still tastes just as amazing. You have it with bacon and like brown sugar and caramelized onions, and you top it with like soft scrambled egg. Ugh. I'm a bit sad that I've just brought that up and now I'm not going to have it for
yeah.
tea. Next we'll go to, I'm just going to go like, I think I'll go clockwise. Yes, on my screen clockwise. So the next that would be Martin, who's just
it's me.
It's Martin.
I can't see what your screen is, so I was like, who's it gonna be?
Oh
who's
no!
It gonna be?
So exciting.
It was me. Hi, I'm Martin. I'm the community and social media manager here at Secret Mode. I've been at Secret Mode since last July, and I've worked in the industry for a very, very, very long time. I first started out working in a shop back in the 1980s and moved all around the industry on all sides of the table, so to speak. And I found my calling in community management, so here I am. The first game I ever played was a game called What Do You Have on Toast? No, it wasn't. It was a game on an old console on the Philips G7000 video pack console. It was blackjack. It was a simple card game.
Oh my goodness!
That my folks had borrowed a console off some friends, and they brought it home, and they'd spent hours. They spent I think they stayed up one night playing blackjack on this console, and I had a play of it then, so I'd been quite young. Best thing to have on toast, it's got good old fashioned, a good nice thick slice of white, really toasty, and good butter. Good
just
butter.
Thick slathering, smackings of butter.
Yeah, butter. It's got to be butter, slightly salted.
Yes, and like the Lurpak, the salted. Oh my god, I'm so hungry. I've literally just eaten. Oh my god.
Given our current food crisis, Aldi or Lidl equivalent of Lurpak, which doesn't cost an arm and a leg to buy.
Yay! Everything's expensive!
Hey!
So we also have, continuing to go, I'm so sorry, you don't, if you're not watching, you don't know who's going to be next, but it's actually Arevya next, who is a guest, special guest, external. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. Hi, everyone. My name is Arevya, and I'm a Norwegian content creator. And I am here because I'm disabled. That's all. No, I am what you could call a disabled and chronically ill content creator. And my passion in life is to talk about accessibility and then accessibility in gaming. I have born with a brain injury called cerebral palsy. Which affects how I game, and which is a mild brain injury, but it still affects me every day. And I also, when I grew older, have now joint problems. So my problems, I have chronic pain. I live with like brain fog. I live with, well, a platform. Let's just say that. Let's just say that if I was a horse, I would be glue. Long time ago.
or maybe a tasty dish if you were in France.
Or maybe
They don't.
yes.
We're glad you're not.
They eat horses.
No, I'm also glad I'm not. Yeah, but no. But gaming is for me everything. I started gaming when I was really, really young, and due to not knowing that I has a disability growing up, I did not know that why I felt so different, because as you can see, I don't quote unquote look like I have any disability, but it do affect me every single day. And since I didn't know about it growing up, I felt like an alien in my own self. But when I met gaming, I met empowerment for the first time in my life. And gaming has been my one thing that has always bring me joy and empowerment. So I'm here today to represent team accessibility and talk about why it is important, even when you have mild disabilities, as I have, all the way through quite severe disabilities, and how it can help also people who has no disability. And yeah, first game. So I think first game was Lion King on the computer. I was like small. I remember I had to have like a bucket on a chair to reach up to the PC.
Oh my goodness.
But my first controller was the Game Boy Color. It was a purple Game Color with Pokemon Yellow. So like that is what I would say like my first proper game. That was that, yeah. And toast, buttered toast with cheese.
Oh yeah.
What type of cheese?
Like a cheese toast?
Norwegian cheese.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we just do that better. I'm sorry.
I will fight you for
Whoa!
cheese.
Whoa!
No, actually, no, you guys actually have a really good cheese when I'm thinking about it. But no, there's a cheese that's called Norwegia, and it's you slice it really, really thin with a cheese slicer, and it's really, really good. So that is what I would have
to try
on my
that the next time I'm in Norway.
Yes, you need to.
Hopefully
Did you try the brown cheese when you were here?
No, I forgot my lactose tablets. And sorry about this, chat. I have quite severe lactose intolerance, so I didn't want to eat anything. But what I will say,
next time you are here,
is the food that I did have was lovely. And then last but certainly not least, we have Lee, who is here. This one. There we go.
Who is here? Who exists?
I'm like pointing. I'm like pointing. I'm like, there we go.
Honestly, I was in a trance then because I cannot stop thinking about cheese. Like, it's just
that's a good trance to be in.
A cheese trance.
I made sure to eat before this, and now I'm like, I really could have gone for some cheese.
Yeah.
Hi, hello. I'm Lee. I'm a QA tester at the Chinese Room, which is a Sumo digital studio, and I'm also an accessibility specialist. I'm also disabled myself. I have multiple chronic illnesses. I'm going to go really slowly saying this one because I literally have to have it written down in front of me because I can never say it properly. I have myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is the longest term I've ever heard. It's shorthand is just ME. and I have fibromyalgia. And the quick way to go through this is just, I'm very exhausted all the time. I'm in constant pain. And as a result of these, I have some mobility issues, joint issues. What's that? I have to wear these little fun gloves when I play games because of constant pain in my hands. And you might notice that when I'm talking, I do a lot of hand movements because where they hurt, then cramp up. If I move them, it makes it a little bit easier for myself. I also use a walking stick to get around. And generally with games, I have to shift around different kinds of games, different controllers, all sorts of things for just sort of issues that I have mostly with my hands. I also have cognitive issues as a result of my conditions. So I also play games a little bit differently. I just love to talk about accessibility, all things accessibility. I think it's incredibly important. Games cannot be accessible enough. And yeah, I am that person in the room who is always like, okay, but what about the disabled gamers? I love to sort of, I get quite like, you know, positively aggressive about it. So that's
as
me.
we should be.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's
yeah.
Yeah.
As for my first game, it's actually also another Disney one because I can't quite remember the first game I ever played, but the one I have the earliest memory of. But it's Pocahontas. I think it was on the Mega Drive, but I'm not sure.
I think it is.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that game. I loved it, and then I like loved the movie as a result. So yeah, I used to play Pocahontas. I also played The Lion King as well, and I remember the Aladdin Disney game too. I have like
yes.
I have like
my
ASMR
God.
of those games. They're so good.
Do you know what?
And
They look great as well. They
hold
hold
up.
up.
They hold up so well. If you go back to Pocahontas, like the sprite work's incredible.
It's stunning.
And also for Toast, I am just a Marmite person through and through. I love Marmite.
I love Marmite. I love Marmite. And
There's
you know
always
what?
somebody doesn't like it.
There's always somebody. I love it. And you know what? It's full of vitamin B12 as well. And I am a B12. I'm a B12 babe. So it's full of B12.
Like I have like a need for B12 because I'm guessing like I also have lactose intolerance, and so I eat vegan. So like I need that B12.
I've got plenty. If anyone wants any, I have B12 to spare.
Oh my goodness! So that is everybody that we have on our panel today. The chat. Everybody says hello in the chat.
Hello, chat.
Editors says that Marmite is sensational. I refuse to hear otherwise. Cheese and Marmite toasty is the ultimate comfort food. I do like having some Liam Perrins on my cheese toasty.
Oh, definitely.
I drown.
Cheese and Marmite.
Yeah.
It's very much a thing. Yeah.
You get like peanut butter Marmite as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
you can get
giveaway.
Marmite cream cheese now as well.
I would love a B12 giveaway competition. I'd be eating that up.
We're going to remove it from my arm or something. I don't know. There may be technology that can help with removal of B12 from me, or maybe just a B12 injection for everyone else.
Just a transfer, yeah. B12 injections are great. They're not nice, but they are great. I felt a million billion times better after I had mine. I was like, wow, I didn't know that was what was causing it. And the doctor was like, yeah. I was like, wow, I felt like tired and awful all of the time. They were like, yeah, you just gotta drink some more Guinness, dude. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Welcome back to have energy.
Yes, oh my god, I'd forgotten. And now I take very, very high dosage tablets to keep on top of it, to keep it managed. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about accessibility in games. We're going to be talking a lot about it.
We're going to talk about a lot about it. All about it, and Marmite and cheese. And
the whole subject is accessibility in games. So I just kind of wanted to start this off with, obviously everybody here is a gamer. Martin, you started off in what we would now call the retro era. Well,
a pre-retro antique.
The antique, the fossil era.
It's pre-retro. It's so retro. It's beyond retro. And it was in the last century. A number of decades before.
I'm dial-up age. I'm a little earlier than dial-up age. I'm Game Boy age. And I think most of us either work in the games industry, have worked in the games industry, or do work within the games industry. If I'm correct in saying that, Arevya, you work with.
I am technically an accountant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I technically work at the research facility with they do cool research about poverty and how to help the world. But I work in the administration there. But my all-time outside work goes to gaming.
Perfect.
So yes. I am, hope to be one day in there.
Yes, there's it's so in a capacity, gaming is incredibly important to all of us in certain ways.
Yes.
We're going to be speaking. I know that I am certainly going to be speaking quite openly about my experience with games. It's up to everybody else in the panel what they talk about. But just to kind of set us off, games, I am 99% certain that they have saved my life. The position that I'm in now. If it weren't for Sea of Thieves, I would not be working for Secret Mode. I would have never even gotten I would have never even applied for the job at Sumo. Sea of Thieves totally changed my life. And I met my wonderful partner, the love of my life, the apple of my eye. Don't tell him I said that, he might think I've gone soft. But I met him because of gaming as well. During the lockdown, I think this was especially important, and I have a few friends with disabilities who, as the pandemic, which is still happening, but as the pandemic seems like people are kind of opening up after the pandemic, a lot of people are saying people aren't gaming as much. I think it's really important that we acknowledge what gaming did during the pandemic and the rise of it and everything, because we all kind of got that idea of we were all just kind of indoors and we needed something to do, and that kind of started off a whole new community of people that had never really been into games before, and suddenly they were kind of forced into this position where they needed to stay inside for safety, but they didn't really know what to do. So we actually have so many people that are gaming now. I think the first thing I wanted to ask everybody was has that impacted your relationship with games at all? Are you playing games more nowadays than you used to be? Are you doing it less? What has anything kind of changed for anybody, or is it mostly just the same?
I can start then, but for me it is sort of the same. For me, I felt that, so I was lucky enough to be able to work from home, and my partner is a nurse, so we were lucky enough to keep our job. So for us, I was used to be a lot of home due to I can only work 50%. I need home office a lot. So my life was sort of the same. But what for me was the really good, if we can find something good about it, is that other people started to understand how it was having to stay inside all the time. Other people all of a sudden started to think, oh, so it isn't just this set for life for everyone. There are actually other people who need other things to be able to connect with the world, and that the internet and the game community and games in general isn't just bad. It can actually bring you joy, and you can have a community, and it sprung up this notion of very many people starting to understand in my life that gaming is so much more than just gaming. It's not just playing a game. It's actually having a community. It's having friends. It's having somewhere you can go and be and feel. And that was the biggest change I saw. And I also saw afterwards, when I've started hosting panels and doing public speaking, a lot of parents have sort of started to understand that it's an okay hobby to have in the same level as sports or music or doing things like that. Understanding that for kids that cannot go out of the house, something that can come into their house and still being seen as being with friends or having like a community is so valuable. And that was something I never felt growing up, because nobody understand like, oh, but why do you spend so much time in the gaming? Like it isn't that important. Like, go out and play with your friends. Not understanding that, well, here is somewhere I can have an empowerment. So for here, this is like a place where I can for once have fun, and I can for once feel like I'm doing something and mastering something. So for me, that was the biggest change, not for my life, but for everybody else's life to understand my life, which was good in the ways it was.
It hopefully created more empathy as well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
She says optimistically, foolishly.
And I think it sort of made people understand the need for accessibility, because before, when I've said like, at work, they are really good at being accessible for me. But in the start, it was a bit like, oh, we forgot to like call you up on Teams. And now it's just a standard.
Yeah.
Like every meeting has a Teams meeting as well. So if in some way somebody is at home or can't join physically, it just comes up automatically. We have like systems now and small digital things. Sound like my mom, who just like pops up and fixes and like connects, and everything is like goes. Do it properly now. But before, that was actually something you had to like call somebody on the team, and they had to like log on the PC and just, oh, wait a second, I need to log on. Things like that. And I have seen that shift being stretched into the gaming world as well.
Yeah.
I do think, the lockdown, it made a lot of the older generation who maybe had not been so internet savvy become aware of Zoom and play and Teams, and so they can, they couldn't leave the house, they couldn't communicate outside of a normal telephone call, so that they discovered this new technology, which wasn't new at all, because webcams and that have been around for years, and a lot of people picked up games. They did their remote quizzes and escape rooms, and many of them continued on after that. So it's
I'm just like being quietly, enjoying all of this, because like the only thing that's in my head was
just
like
vibing.
during lockdown, like my main focus was Animal Crossing. Like,
No, we can talk about Animal
No.
Crossing.
It got to this point, right? Of all the games I've played, it is now the game that has the most hours. I've got something like 600-700 hours in it. I was so obsessed with it.
No.
My experience was very much like my life didn't, in terms of gaming, my life didn't change tremendously during lockdown, because I play games all the time whenever I can. Like, I now do it as a job, and then when I'm out for the job, I'm playing games anyway. But I will say the types of games I was playing maybe changed a little bit, and especially Animal Crossing in particular, because like we were saying, a lot of other people were sort of becoming aware of games at that time. And for me, it was like, I had friends who were like, oh, do you want to play Animal Crossing together? And I'm like, oh, I actually get to spend time with my friends because I can't see them. And that was a fantastic game for it, because, we'd do up our islands, we'd run around, go on like little trips around the island. I know me and my partner would go on little dates to the museum together, and it was lovely.
It was
so nice.
Cozy.
It came out at just the right time as well. Like, everyone did that game.
And like you could visit each other. That was like the best. Like I remember sitting down on stream, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to visit all my friends' like islands, and like just watch them and see what it did, and like all these like, oh no, you're so right.
You're correct.
It was like
so nice. It was so wholesome as well. I think that like there's loads of games we can play together, but it was a very wholesome experience that a lot of people could get involved with, and that was just really nice. And I will say, like, it was quite interesting, because if you look back now, I mean, there's still people playing Animal Crossing, but it was like a special moment, because everyone was doing it at this one particular moment together. And I have friends that play it, and I have friends that have just not touched it since. It was just like it's like a special relic in time now. That was my lockdown experience. It was playing a lot of Animal Crossing, and I did tend to play a lot of games that were, I guess, like cooperative based, like stuff that involved other people. I'm not massively into multiplayer games. I think the closest I get is that I like will regularly play an MMO, and the MMO changes every now and again. But like generally, I tend to be a single player kind of gamer unless I'm playing games with my partner.
Yeah.
So that moment where it was like, oh my god, I can't see people. It was like, but I can still play games with them. I can still engage with them. I actually this is a really nice thing that I also did during lockdown, is that my mum plays Final Fantasy online, so we would play Final Fantasy online together.
Oh
So that was nice. We used to go fishing together in the game.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed that, and it was just a really nice sort of thing for us to do together, because I wasn't with my parents during lockdown. I was separated from them. So to be able to actually spend time like that, it kind of brought us closer in a way that we hadn't really had before. And yeah, it was really nice. I think games during lockdown was important to bring people a lot together. People needed
definitely.
it.
And get like the anxiety down, because like this unsurety of like, I have to say in the start it felt sort of like the world is ending kind of deal, because nobody knew that we have never experienced this kind of worldwide lockdown, and like the news, and then toilet paper.
Oh god!
Bought like, I don't know, houses of toilet paper.
End of the world scenario.
Yes, and you were just sitting there like, okay, I need to bleach all the food I take into my house, because in the start we didn't know. Yes, the food cleaning, and like I was so stressed, because I at the time, like a half a year before, I had started immune suppressant medication, really low dose. It wasn't any danger for me, we learn now, but I was really scared. And then like you had this like anxiety every day by just like getting food, and then you went out there and just like, I have a place now, where an island where nothing talks to me, it just says and then I can just like get some fruit and chill, and that's it. And it was so nice to just like get myself down again, get it down again to earth. And yes,
you're completely right. There was like, because I feel like when you with the lockdown, everybody had a lot of extra panic and they had a lot more worries, but especially when you were disabled during lockdown, it's like able-bodied people might not even realize how much harder it got. It was like there's so much prep involved, so much checking everything you did, and you had to shield for longer. And essentially, you know, there are those of us who still shield, you know, at the moment, because, you know, as Harry said, it's not over.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Like,
so yeah,
I think one of the things that used to really frustrate me about that whole rhetoric is it was like, oh yeah, but and this is how they'd always phrase it as, if a healthy person catches it, like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, but what about people that are immunocompromised? It's like, what about like people that just like they have asthma? Like I have very mild asthma. I was like, that's not. And when I caught it, I had a day where I was like, I might need to go to hospital. And normally my immune system is beefy, like Wolverine levels. But that just wiped me out, and I was going, oh yeah, this is really bad. This is like super serious.
It was also a risk going to hospital.
Yes.
You didn't want to be in that position, because you didn't want to go to hospital, because there was a real high risk that you would actually catch something worse. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was just, honestly, massive. It was, I mean, the thing you said about Animal Crossing is I have like such specific memories of the start of the lockdown. We had very unusually a beautiful summer in the UK. Like from literally like day one of lockdown, we barely had any rain that entire summer. It was beautiful. All anybody wanted to do was to go outside.
Yeah, we couldn't.
But I have really specific memories of this was I'd very recently just lost my job because of the raging pandemic. And I could not get an hour and a half bus, a busy bus, into the centre of Leicester, which is a very busy town centre in the UK. And I'd already been very ill once, and so I didn't have my job. And I have very specific memories of downloading Animal Crossing, and one of my friends that worked at Sumo, the person that literally did my like referral for me, an incredible person. They were like, oh, I've just downloaded Animal Crossing as well. So I've got really specific memories of just being sat outside in the garden, or like sat in the conservatory with like the doors open, and like with the sun coming down, I'd just be sat on the Switch with her like coming out of my phone, and we'd just be like just having a chat. We'd just be like showing each other around the islands and just like doing our own things in our own islands. It was magical, and you're correct. It came out exactly at the right time. We've got a couple of comments from people in the chat. I am going to show a special effect video in a second, but just to go through some of the chats. So we've had editor said Animal Crossing New Horizon is fantastic. It also launched at the perfect time. We all needed a chance to escape to a cozy, quiet, rewarding social world at the exact moment. I wouldn't normally play games like. Do you know what? I almost said Assassin's Creed because it says AC, and I was like, oh yeah, Assassin's Creed. Animal Crossing.
It's the crossover waiting to happen there, isn't it?
Oh God,
There's
please.
There's a reason that I call Tom Nook Tom Crook, and that is probably why. Why am I paying for the bridge, Tom? Where is the council? Like, what? Am I paying tax? Anyway, I'm not going to launch into my Tom Nook rant.
I will just give you my Animal Crossing experience. I spent hours creating clothing and Depeche Mode posters for the walls of my apartment, and then lost all of my turnips in one fell swoop, and I have not loaded it up since.
No.
I was trying to play the turnip market. I was trying to get those sweet rewards, and I lost them all. Yeah. So and I haven't gone back to it since. Yeah.
Oh no! Just load it back up again. Just for fun.
You need a crash course in like risk reward investments.
I do. Yeah. I'm not sat out for the stock market, alternate market, which is very much a topic here in the UK at the moment.
Yes. We've also got comments about the Heroes of Geek said is talking about Project Leonardo, which we will definitely touch on because Project Leonardo is like, oh yes. Sorry, oh my god, I don't know what sort of weird accessibility demon came out of me just then, but she's in there. Between we will definitely be touching on that because it's really good that PlayStation releasing that. They've kind of gone, oh yeah, this is a thing that people do need, and it's also something that obviously with the accessible controllers. Obviously, we've got the Xbox accessible controller, which came out a few years ago. We've got Project Leonardo now, and that does segue. Did I say it right?
Segue.
I got it wrong again.
You got it right earlier.
You were practicing
earlier, and you said it correctly. Sorry, I don't want to be that person that just corrected you. But Sedgway. Let's go with Sedgway. But you got rhetoric, all right.
Do you know what?
Sorry, Harry, I didn't want to.
It's okay. I really struggle.
You did ask.
What's the other one as well that I always
hyperbole?
I do hyperbole.
Yeah,
yes,
no,
absolutely.
I always thought it was hyperbole.
My phrase is you should never make fun of somebody for mispronouncing a word. It meant that they read it somewhere. So there you go. You shouldn't make fun of people mispronouncing words anyway.
No,
I am from Wigan. I frequently have people going, What's a chur? Why do you say her like her? How do you say her if you're talking about like someone's her? I'm like her. They're like that's not a word. That's not how you say words. I'm like, yes, it is. Leave me alone.
I'm married to a teacher, and she will often correct me on even the simplest words. So I apologise, Harriet. It was not intentional.
No, it's okay.
To correct you on Sedgway.
It's okay. My partner's a software engineer, so with me, it's like trying to do. I have like mild. I'm gonna call it dyscalculia. I'm gonna say it's mild. But that's where a bit like dyslexia, but with numbers, basically. So I really struggle with what is it? What's the word that I'm trying to find? Analytics. I'm not going to say
analytics.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one. I always struggle with those as well, and graphs. So I'm not going to be playing any maths games. But
Kurosawa's
we also
brain
have we've got ileostomy in the chat, which I'm glad I can say that word, because I used to work for a company that used to provide like discrete swimsuits for ileostomy, urostomy, and colostomy bag users. We had like a little swimwear. Like little beachwear things. They were amazing. I love that place.
Cool.
We had like different prints, and they'd be like, "What do you think of this print?" I'm like, "That looks like some sort of shell suit nightmare. Let's get it out there." Yes, absolutely. Is that neon? 100%. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm glad I remembered how to pronounce that. But we've got somebody who's here. Oh, honestly, it's. Ileostomy is unhappy that I called Tom Nook Tom Crook. I am very sorry. Because you can pay him back whenever. But I'm like, why am I paying him back at all? Why am I fixing his bridge? Don't get me started.
Yeah.
I will sit here and slander Tom Nook. I will. I like Isabella though. I like the rest of them. I had one bad villager which I was like, why are you here? Why you're judgy? They were judgy. I sound judgy now, don't I? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna. I'm gonna show a little video. So we actually recently got a recent video from Special Effect for somebody called Tiago, and Special Effect have been working with Tiago for 10 years. So this is GameBlast's 10th annual anniversary, and they've been working with Tiago ever since. Grab your tissues, because this has made me cry. I put a lot of setting spray on today, though, to be fair, so this ain't budging today. But we're going to watch that video from Special Effect. This is who we're raising money for today. It says we've hit our donation goal, but we are not going to complain about raising more money for Special Effect. We're never going to complain about that. So this video will just show off a little bit about like what Special Effect do and how they are helping people with disabilities.
Hi, I'm Tiago and I am studying games development and coding at Banbury College. I felt and still feel exhilarated about playing games. I like to play games where you drive a car or ride a bike because I'm not restricted on what I can do in a game, whereas in real life I am. I was 5 years old when we first got an email about Special Effect, and I just turned 6 when I had my first visit. It has been important for me to have the ongoing support from everyone at Special Effects because as I've grown up, they've helped me by adapting how I game. The difference it has made to my life is that I can be more creative because I can build whatever is in my mind. If I hadn't had the chance to game and be involved with Special Effects, I wouldn't be in my games development and coding course. The difference you've made over the years has helped me a lot because I'm able to access a wider range of games. It also has allowed me to game with my friends. I would like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to game freely and without limitations.
We're back! We're back! Oh my goodness me. They are just incredible. They're an incredible charity, and Tiago actually wants to work in the games industry, so maybe some of us will be lucky enough to be working with Tiago one day. I personally love that. So they're in. I think they said they were in college this year. So yeah, I think they're gonna go and kick some serious butt, and they're gonna do amazing things because Special Effects have done so much work with them as well.
Yes.
Because Special Effects are also, they don't just do like these personalised gaming setups. That is a big important thing. And we'll play another video later on from Aaron, who kind of, I think, embodies that really, really well, because they're kind of talking about how, they're not, they're not a gameaholic, but it gave them it gave them like confidence, and they were able to be social, and you know they can't normally, you know, we've had some that have kind of talked a little bit about, you know, they were like, well, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't go and play football, but I can play FIFA because Special Effect have done this setup for me, and now I can do things like that, which is amazing. They don't just do that though; they also give people. Oh, my brain is really not working today. Independence.
Independency, yes.
Independency. They give people independency as well, because they're starting to use something called eye gaze, which is just blows my mind when I see it, where you can control things with your eyes, and that can be things like changing the channel on TV, or yes, controlling games, but also like, oh, I don't like this radio station. Let's stick some Smooth FM on. And they can change it with their eyes, which is... If you'd have told me that a few years ago, I'd have been like, that's not real, but it is.
The thing is, that technology has actually been around for a while, because I've got a film stills camera from the early 90s, and in that is eye focus technology. So wherever my eye was looking at through the lens would be what the focus is. So that kind of similar technology has been around for a while, but it's great that, you know,
this is what happens when you grow up in Wigan. More... You don't know about it. You don't hear anything about this. You just.
But there was technology that was only Canon used it for a short while, and it's just certainly not in their newer cameras, not in their digitals. But I've got an old one of their old film cameras.
Do you know what?
I was going to say, isn't like accessibility so science fiction sometimes? Like,
yeah.
It's so cool and futuristic.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's amazing.
We have seen a lot of like, if we want for accessibility, a lot of the things we have today we wouldn't have. Like the keyboard was made for somebody who had tremors in the hands and couldn't write. So I think it was their dad or somebody in their family made like the first ever kind of typewriter. And we have like all of these things like touchpad started out with an accessibility feature. There are so many things who starts out as just a means to help, and then it just pulls over to the rest of the world, the able-bodied world. And it's actually called something really, really cool. If I can nerd about this for a second.
Absolutely.
It's actually called a cut curb effect. So curb or pavement, you have like these like cutouts in the pavement or curb, whatever you call it in the UK, where you can go down. So like if you like are in a wheelchair, you can like go down without having to like jump over, because that can really hurt you. Say you have like a really problem with your spine and you can't like have any shaking or something happening to your chair. You need to be able to go off the pavement or curb somehow. But we see that it's not only people in wheelchairs using that. There are people like, say you have a pram or like for your children, or you are delivering some groceries, or you have to like get your car up, or your car is really low, or you are on a skateboard, or you hurt your foot and you can't like step down. There are so many other people can use that. That is called the cut curb effect. And we see that in gaming as well. My favorite thing of that is that my AS works okay for my age.
Mine don't.
Which is always like our thing. Yeah. When it comes to age, sometimes they don't. But we have the accessibility of subtitling either closed or open captions. But how many of us doesn't use this just because either we struggle paying attention, but that is an accessibility thing. But I use them just because I like eating crisp when I game. And like when you eat crisp,
and you're like crunching away
in your head. Yeah. I can't hear what's happening, so I need subtitles. Do I as like needed for like my there we go.
Here are some crisps I prepared, especially for that cat.
Especially for this. But like, do I need it in a term of like my disability or chronic illness? No. But accessibility is not only for us who have a disability or chronic illness, but we see that if we help those who are most dire in need of having the barriers lowered, we help everyone. It
Yes.
makes the gaming world better for us all, which is often why a lot of people think accessibility means either easy mode or it means only thing that help disabled people. But accessibility as a term is just lowering a barrier that makes a market bigger for a product, which something everybody can have. Like everything that can lower any barriers is an accessibility thing, and which is. I try so often to make like able-bodied people or people who don't necessarily need accessibility to access a game, to understand that, hey, if you're like really sharing for games to be able to access by everyone, it will actually help you in the end. So yeah,
just
on
the subject of subtitles as well. It's recommended for anyone with young children who, and obviously sometimes parents, they put on the TV to keep the child entertained while the parents are busy doing their thing. But it's recommended that you turn subtitles on. So the kids, when they're watching this, they're hearing these words, but they're also seeing the words as well, which in turn will help them when it comes to them learning to read. So it's a really important feature you're saying about subtitles, but just generally having them on, even if you've got young kids.
So Chris in the chat just said around 60% of people turn on subtitles in games, but if defaulted on, 95% of people keep them on. So game subtitles are usually defaulted to on. I mean, it's subtitles. I mean, they're there's something that I think all games have now anyway.
Yeah, they should. They
do.
should do. Yeah, if there's any narrative.
But it doesn't just help,
or even descriptives.
Yeah,
then they need to be there.
The obvious need for subtitles is if somebody is hard of hearing. I have tinnitus, sometimes very badly, and there's just certain things where like I have tinnitus, and I'm also a little bit neurospicy, so so a little neuroseasoned. So I sometimes, if I'm having like one of those days where my brain can't focus, it is in shutdown mode, and I'm trying to like I enjoy playing games all of the time, but sometimes I just need like a little extra help. Then subtitles are also there if you're neurodivergent and you need to be able to, like, so many people I know with ADHD use subtitles because it helps. It's just another thing for their brain to be able to like pull them in, to be able to focus, to help them focus. There's also like, that does bring us nicely onto maybe talking about accessibility features that we'd like to see more of, and accessibility features that we love. So what does everyone want to do first? What does everyone want to hear first? Do we want to hear things that we love or things that we want to see more of? It's like, what do we start with? I can ask the chat.
Ask
you.
Chat. Yeah, ask chat. The chat.
Hello, chat.
Start off, mate.
Hello, it is I, Harry. What do you want us to talk about? Do you want us to talk about what we like or what we want to see more of? In this is what we like.
Let's go with what we like.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
it's a good start then. So
yeah.
Okay, so yes, do tell. We're going to tell.
Yeah.
So sorry, Martin. Were you gonna say
no, I was gonna say, I'm getting old, so for me, I am. My hearing's going.
Aww.
But I'm also, not all disabilities are visible. We all know that. I'm partially colourblind, so having, while I don't generally use them because my colourblindness is so bizarre, it's like, because one of my pupils is larger than the other. You won't be able to see it on cam, but it's one of them sometimes significantly larger than the other. And my colourblindness is pinks and grey. When the two colours are together, I find it incredibly difficult to differentiate between the two. So the colorblind options and stuff like that. Do you know the ones with the ink
little
dots with the dot test we used to do we have as eye test as a child. I'd always struggle. I couldn't work out what the number was whenever it was pinks and greys. But for me, as I'm getting older, I do play a lot of I play Fortnite. I will hold my hand up and say I play Fortnite, and I still play it regularly. I've played it since day one. We stand. Are we? Is that okay?
Did I use it right? Yeah, you did it, Martin. We're Gen Z now.
My name's Martin, and I play Fortnite. So, and one of the best features for me, because also often I play late at night, and we don't want to disturb neighbours and stuff like that. So often we'll play with the volume down. But one of the great accessibility features in Fortnite that everyone can use are the visual cues for treasure chests and also other players.
Yes.
And it will display a ring on the screen when there are other players walking near. If they're crouched, less so. But if there's movement of other players out within an area of view, they will appear on the map. And that's a fantastic feature that is there available for everyone. It's a great accessibility feature.
That's very similar to.
Sorry, my dog is going mental. Sorry, I'm going to mute.
I love Martin's dog. It's a little Westie.
So I'll be back in 1 second. You can't. I have to go off cam. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, take care of the doggo.
So it's very similar. Sea of Thieves has something very, very similar. In that it has a lot of sound cues and a lot of like feel cues as well. So like the ship's wheel, when you centralize it, it makes noise and the controller vibrates. There are sound cues for when the water is coming in on the boat. You'll hear the boat starts to groan. And you can also hear rat squeaks, which you can turn off. They have made it so that if you're frightened of rats, you can turn off. I have pet rats. I love rats. But
rats are good.
They're great. Oh, I love rats. I can understand.
But are you scared? You are scared. You cannot do nothing about it.
I totally understand people's fear of rats. But people can turn that feature off as well. But they have so many visual cues. Chris is not saying anything right now, so I'm assuming that I'm correct on all of this. I'm probably missing out a bunch of stuff, and he'll probably put it in the chat far too late when we've moved on. But we're here now. We're talking about it now. But it's also things like I was mentioning my tinnitus earlier. It's all wrong. No, it's not, Chris. No, it's not. I know it's not. I didn't realise how much. When you don't realise how much you need something until you see it.
Yeah.
I've started playing Horizon Forbidden West a couple of weeks ago. It's a huge game, but it's managed to hold my attention because I love Aloy very dearly. She's probably one of my favourite video game characters of all time. And I love going on adventures with her. But when I was having a look at the accessibility features, which is one of the first things I do when I pick a game up now, I'm like, what have we got here then? They had on there a tinnitus mode, and I almost cried because my tinnitus is triggered by everything. It's triggered by silence. I'll just be sat in silence and suddenly I'll just see a wee, and it drives me bonkers. But something that makes it worse, which it's always my left ear, will just almost go, not completely, but I'll struggle to hear things out of it, and my tinnitus will be extremely loud. And one of the things that triggers that is tinnitus sounds. So, when there's an explosion in a film or a game, and you get that kind of, and people are like, this is you get that kind of
that ringing in your ear.
And I'm like, I don't want that, and I almost cried because I didn't even realise that could have ever been a thing, that there was an accessibility option to switch off the tinnitus sounds. I was like, this has just made my experience so much better, because no, that's not going to get set off every single time, which I get hit a lot in Horizon. I'm not good at the combat. I enjoy it, but I'm not good at it. But the amount of times that somebody will send a blast, and I go, that's the point where the tinnitus would be coming in now, but I've switched it off, so I don't get that at all. So that's definitely one of mine personal ones in recent years, but I do love and appreciate when games put in sound and visual cues as well, especially when it comes to sound cues, because I have a couple of friends who are hard of hearing. I'm a LARPer, which for those of you that don't know is a live action role player. It's like D&D, but in real life you dress up in armour and you hit people with rubber swords. It's great, but you're at the bottom of the nerd food chain. But that is an incredibly diverse hobby, and a lot of and it's also a very accessible hobby as well. We LARPers try their best. They try their best to do everything they possibly can to bring more people into the hobby. So as a result of that, I also know a lot of people who are deaf, and one of my favourite creators, Tizzy, she does like a BSL word of the day, where she'll or like sentence phrase of the day, where she'll like teach you BSL and like go through like the word and everything. So it's stuff like that as well, and you're starting to see it more in like film media, but I would like to also see more BSL or ASL in video game media as well. Oh no, that's that. I've jumped onto the. I don't want to do that. No, we're talking about things that we like.
We've not got that.
We've not got to that
That's
bit.
the one thing we like.
Skipped ahead.
Yay! Okay, somebody else
Come back
talk.
a chapter. We're still on chapter 2.
I was going to say something actually. Just sort of going off when you were like, you know when you said I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it. Like that's my favorite thing to talk about games, is that like I have this really strong stance that I'm like, I don't think you have to be good at video games to enjoy video games.
No.
Right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
my favorite accessibility thing that does exist and is prominent, over loads of games is difficulty features, is being able to choose your difficulty.
Yeah.
Now, some games do it better than others. Some games I will not talk about, but there are a lot of games that do it really well. And one of the things I had, because with my conditions, they've sort of gotten progressively worse as I've gotten older, as most things do. And as a result, when I was younger, I used to sort of have a bit of a complex where I'd be like, I'm not playing it on easy. That's not real gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not a gamer.
Yeah. We all do it.
There's very much a stigma about playing on easy mode.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I mean,
it is.
I understand
Elitism.
there's a massive difference between wanting a challenge and thinking that you aren't a gamer because you're playing a game on normal or easy. And one of my favorite things actually, off the top of my head, I think games like The Quarry, for example, which has incredible accessibility options, they have things like cinematic modes where you just sort of play through and enjoy it. You can literally watch The Quarry. There is a movie mode, and I love that. I think that's incredible because it's such a brilliant game and it's so engaging. I'm a huge horror nerd, so horror games are like my bread and butter. So when that came out with so many accessibility options, and then was like, here's movie mode, and I didn't know about it. I was looking through the achievements and there's one for starting the movie mode, and I was like, what's this? And I clicked it and I was like, oh, get the popcorn, get the drink.
That's
like, this is
Oh my god.
I absolutely love that, and I just love the general idea that we have nowadays, where there are people making modes that are both like, here's your easy mode. We're not treating you like a baby. We're just making it so you can play through the game, but with less difficulty.
Yeah, I played a game recently. I started to play it, and the difficulty modes were not that the NPCs or the enemies were easier to kill. You had less objectives.
Yes.
To complete, and I can't for the life of me remember what game it was. You played it on easy mode, and you maybe only had one objective. Oh no, I'll tell you what it was. It was GoldenEye.
Hey, cool.
It was
They
Rare's
added
GoldenEye.
accessibility into GoldenEye.
Yeah, was the fact that the difficulty settings were you had less objectives to complete.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I love that. Do you know what really frustrates me when about the whole don't turn on easy mode? I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'm not enjoying myself. I'm doing this as a hobby. Why would I not turn easy mode on? I'm just making myself angry. I'm never going to pick this game up again if I can't get past this point. Why am I... The people are like, oh, don't turn it on to easy mode. I'm like, be quiet. I am going to turn it on to easy mode.
I'm going to play it on easy mode.
Yeah. Like,
I just think it's so useful for people. Like,
indeed.
I don't play every game on easy.
No.
And it's very dependent on the game.
Yes,
and there are some
yeah.
games that like I might be like, do you know what? I'm so adept to this game that I feel like I can go up. And that's another point, is that the best games to me in terms of difficulty are the ones that let you adjust the difficulty throughout the game and sort of tailor it to your experience. Because yes, it is very nice having a game that goes, all right, I'm going to play this on easy because maybe I've tried it, or maybe I'm worried that I might have difficulty. But if I can play through that game for like say an hour and I go, do you know what? I think I have the capability to move up a bit. If I could just change that in the options rather than having to start the game again, that's perfect. I love that because it just makes you feel like you're tailoring your experience. And also games that generally allow a lot of like customization in terms of your difficulty are brilliant. I play a lot of, I guess, like strategy games, tycoon games, strategy games. Frostpunk is one that I play an awful lot. And it's not something that ever really comes up in terms of accessibility, but I've never seen anybody talk about this, but when you play a game of Frostpunk and you change the difficulty settings, you can adjust it like on individual levels. So you can adjust whether or not you have hazards pop up. You can adjust how angry people will get with you throughout the level. And it goes between this like, can I do this and what's my challenge? Because it's one of those things that I know I do play it over and over and over and then go, I want to have the challenge. But at sometimes you'll be playing it and you'll just go, do you know what? I cannot deal with this. And you will play a game with the adjusted difficulty.
Yeah.
And I think also in the world of easy mode, not easy mode is also about inclusion, because it's often when we work or want to work in the gaming industry that we are a bit like, oh, but game, we know how to do this. We have always run and pushed A and it jumps. That the majority of the world aren't gamers. And if they come into a game and it's just smacking them in the face, they don't want to play games.
No.
Because a challenge is an individual thing. Yes. So a challenge is subjective. What is a challenge for me is not a challenge for you, and the opposite, which is why I like when I have difficulty settings, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't good at gaming. It can mean that you don't have time. I have done it before on stream where we do like accessibility runs. We just put on every single accessibility we can find in the game, often games including invisibility mode, and then we go like, okay, everybody, come on gamers, let's see how fast we can beat this game. And like you sort of do like a speed run out of it, and it's fun. That is what games should be. If you like challenges, being like you nearly like cry because it's so hard, that is fun for you, but that isn't fun for everyone. And it's so important. And especially I just have like a love for people who put in invisibility mode or god mode or whatever you want to call it. Like that for me is just mwah.
Sometimes you just might want to play, you just might want to go and kill stuff, and not, you just might, it's a stress release almost, I've had a really bad day at work, all I want to do is go and smash stuff, give me god mode, let me go in and just bash,
and some games are just really good stories, and you want to join the like meme or the world of understanding this game, but you can't. And god mode and invisibility mode difficulty settings is so important.
I think that there's so many things as well. We should definitely talk about Project Leonardo soon, but but I think like there are some things as well that like that I don't think people would like I said about the tinnitus mode. People that don't even think of. So when Grounded came out. Grounded, for those of you that don't know, is a survival game, which is basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but as a video game. It's incredible. I love Grounded so much. But one of the things that, again, like so Obsidian, I I'd say like one of the best companies I've seen in terms of accessibility features and making sure that their games are able to be used with accessible controller setups as well.
Yeah.
I big up Obsidian, whoop whoop, because they are just amazing. I just cringed at myself doing that. We do stand Obsidian.
I was thinking about like talking about then when I was going to say my likes in the games. Yes, because they do a lot of good things.
They're great, but like one of the things, so like they obviously have things that will help people with physical disabilities, but they also, and I will talk further about things I wish that were more in games later. I keep wanting to jump the gun on that, don't I? But one of the things that I absolutely loved is when I first picked Grounded Up. I don't think I'm alone in my quite severe phobia of arachnids. I understand the need for the environment. They're good little guys, but I don't want them near me. And the ones in Grounded are terrifying.
They are big,
growling beasts that lunge at you. And I don't switch arachnophobia mode on, but the fact that they have an arachnophobia mode, which turns this ginormous evil looking scary monster into a marshmallow with two little eyes, like a floating marshmallow, is brilliant.
Fantastic.
And I love stuff like that as well. Like I love when like I said, Obsidian are just like one of the most amazing companies for that, because of the stuff that they do for physical disabilities, but also the things that we do for, I mean, like a phobia mode. They went, it'd be great if more people could play this game, but we understand that people are frightened of spiders, so we're going to turn them into marshmallows if you want to turn them into marshmallows. They've done loads of stuff. Like, you look through the accessibility on any of the, definitely the more recent Obsidian titles, but even like Fallout New Vegas, when that came out, that was what, like 2008? Sorry, Beth.
2000 and old.
2000 and old.
That came out when when I was still wearing like two belts, unironically.
Were they studded belts?
Yeah,
they were studded belts in like a cross shape. Yeah,
like the checkered pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and the scarf. You know, like I've still got my scarf. You know, the kind of like bandana-y scarf. It was like red and white. Yeah, that came out then. 2010. Oh, 2010. Harry, what were you thinking in 2010?
I am paying it. I was just Googling it.
Oh my God, why was I still wearing that in 2010? Oh, that's so 2005. It never went out of fashion, and I will physically fight anybody that says it did.
But I do have some other likes before we jump on, though, that I really, really, really want to talk about, because I have one that I think not a lot of devs think about, but for me is so important, and it's so easy to add. And that is the fact that you need to be able to click the subtitles along or let it go automatic. Yes. I have dyslexia, which so many people have, and like reading and struggle with reading, we are sort of never talk about, or just having cognitive problems is something a lot of people have. Of some varying degree, and like accessibility often forgets cognitive also help, which in my cerebral palsy sometimes make because it's a bit little like a brain damage, it sort of makes sometimes my brain feel like I'm lagging. I'm an NPC in my own body, and today it's lag. And the thing is just that if then text just rambles on, and I need text sometimes to just like be able to concentrate of what is being said because I'm too tired to just use my ears. I know it might not sound logical for somebody who doesn't have it, but if I only hear sound, it just sounds like I get it. Yes, and I need to read it, especially since my mother tongue is Norwegian. Most games, I don't even know if there are games in Norwegian. Well, maybe some. Yeah, so I only play games in foreign languages. I sometimes need to read, but I don't read quick. And if I can understand people don't wanting to have that click through, it should be something you could turn on and off. But if I read something and it just keeps on going too fast, I just give up. I get like a 2-year-old and go like, no, I am not going to read it now. I don't care about your story. Like, because like it's such a simple thing to do, and it just like takes me away from the story. So it's like that. I love when games have that. Like, and then when games have seasick mode, because I can't even watch like a ship without getting green. I puke in ships. So like I played Raft. Raft did this, and the first time I played Raft, I got so ill after playing it for like 10 minutes. I was just like, no, I need to go and like lay down on the floor, kind of ill. And then somebody said, hey, they got seasick mode, and I jumped in and I put it on, and I have played that game for hours. I love that game. It's the only thing it does is stabilizing your boat, so you doesn't get like this rocking around you. Which also some games can do with like having a little dot on the screen. That can also help your brain. I think
the focus point.
Yes, focus one. I played Valheim the other day, and they have a dot which helps me to focus so I don't get seasick. And the last thing is that I need to be able to control in different keyboards and stuff. Like, I use so many different keyboards. Like, let me just show you guys, because like what I have around me is like one keyboard.
Oh, that looks like it has cloudy keys, though. Do you know what I mean?
It has kittens. It has kittens on it.
Oh my goodness.
And then we have keyboard number 2, which is like my newest one, which is like this, which just so that I can do it like this.
Yeah.
Right? And then we have a normal controller here. Like, that's my normal controller. And then I have a secondary controller because this is too chunky sometimes. And then I have like what more we have? We have like the accessible controller over there. Like, I need to change it all the time. I have some Nintendo things here as well because that is small for my hands. And that is such a small thing to do. But when it's added, it makes me be able to play the game from 30 minutes to 3 hours.
Yes.
And
Yeah. My partner Chris has an ergonomic, that's how it's pronounced, ergonomic keyboard as well. I think we showed you it a few weeks ago. It's got like it kind of rises in the centre and is like split down the middle of it.
The Microsoft one, yes.
Yes, the Microsoft, yeah. Oh, look at, oh, there it is.
Yeah. And there is...
Oh my goodness.
And I wish more developers could just understand that accessibility isn't hard. Well, it is hard, of course. It isn't easy. You have to think.
But do you know who it's harder for?
It's for people who can't access the game.
Yeah. The people that need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But those are the things I absolutely love. And of course, I have like a soft spot for the, what do you call it, like a high contrast mode. Which is when you can make like one character one color and take away the colors. Like, I think that is, I wanted to like have some easy points for if there are any devs in here taking some notes. This is some easy points, but then you have the more advanced things, which is like absolutely like high contrast mode, which is, if anybody in the audience or in chat doesn't know, it is when you can take away all colors on screen except for items that are important to, and you can change it. Like, say you can be pink, your character can be pink, the mobs or the bad people or whatever, zombies, whatever, can be like yellow, and all the items is red. And it helps people with low vision or blind players to be able to see better. And funny enough, helped me to do some quests in the last God of War, because I didn't, like, sometimes my brain just doesn't brain. So I was lucky enough I didn't understand how to like solve a puzzle. So we put on this high contrast mode because all items lighted up in yellow then. And all of a sudden we're just like, that is an item.
Yes, Horizon has that as well. You can press your focus and it's like, here is everything you can interact with. Here is like, oh, that is excellent.
Yeah, and but it's sometimes so easy as just having a quest log. Because if I play, so when I stream once a week, I often have to have chat help me remember what we did last time. I have a moderator who knows about my disabilities, and he, like, when I ask chat, oh, do you remember what I did? I actually mean, like, do you guys remember? Because I don't.
Yeah.
And he always goes like, yes, you did this, this, and this, because he always remember. And he's just like, yeah, and you're supposed to do this and this. And once I've come into it, I was just like, oh, my brain goes, oh yeah, memories. I have that.
Yeah.
And it gives me back the memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a tattoo at the weekend and it's a little bit itchy, and I've just realised I've been scratching it. I've not been scratching it, I've just been rubbing. But I'm going to leave it alone. Leave it alone, Harry. It's at that stage where it's just really itchy, so I'm trying not to shed.
Can I just jump in with something that I thought of while you were talking? You know, when you were talking about the high contrast mode and about like having something that shows you what you can interact with. It's not necessarily high contrast, but I recently played Norco, and it has a button in the game that you can press, and you press the button and it shows you everything that can be interacted in an area, because it's a point and click. So you can choose if you want to, you know, discover and do your pixel hunting, but if you press the button, it will like show all these sparkles around the different things you can press. And I was using it, like, I wasn't using it constantly, but I, you know, like you would get frustrated, or you would just be like, do you know what, my mind isn't focused on this, and I pressed it and I'm like, oh my god, there we go. And it did not take away from the experience at all, and it was so good. And I was just like, I love this. And that was like, I'm quite an avid point and click player, and that was one of those things I was like, I did not know that this could be a thing, and this is beautiful. And now I'm like, every point and click needs that. Put that in your game.
Yeah, but I think back
looks great.
Back in the day, I believe a lot of the point and click adventures, the items you could interact with would highlight yellow as default. They were in there. That sort of feature was in there as standard, and it feels like they sort of moved away from that. And have started to put it back in again as a as an accessibility feature.
Yeah.
It's like we've just made games more difficult.
Yeah, I think
because
for a while,
more people are playing them.
Yeah, I think for a while we were like, oh, the aesthetics. Let's just.
Yeah.
What about the aesthetics?
Style to be inaccessible.
Like, okay, why are we doing that? Yeah, that's Norco is that's Raw Fury, isn't it? They
Norco
also.
Is great. And I see in the chat also a reminder, it does let you customize the text. It's so good. I have problems with reading certain texts. I have mild dyslexia. I'm not sure, I've never been checked for it like officially, but I cannot read certain text at all, and I changed the text, and my partner changed the text on Norco, and it's like we can actually see what we're doing, and we're just like, oh my god,
it's so nice. And when have brackets and say their name, as somebody who again is foreign, for like English is not my first language, and sometimes it is hard to know, like, okay, so you say a name, but how on earth do I spell that? And it's like gives you the little text. And what God of War did, they had like arrows who pointed at a weird person who said what stood compared to you. So like if somebody behind you like talked, it like pointed like downwards to indicate behind you, and it was to the side. And it was so lovely, because if you had a lot of people and you got a bit like disorientated of what came from where, funny enough though, they have like a lot of crows throughout the game, so like a lot of times they just say crows are crowing, and it just pointed up to like random forest, and I was just like, wow, yes, oh, I have a dog, oh,
my
dog.
Hey dog. My favourite for when those subtitles appear is when it's always when there's like squelching noises happening, and it's so detailed, and especially you get it in horrors. Yeah, you get it in horrors a lot.
Squelch.
I absolutely love that. Oh god,
angry
I can't remember.
Font size.
What it was. I think it was the medium. It had something that was like incredibly pained noises of agony. It was a bright pink subtitle, and I was like, I love that. It was so cute and horrifying at the same time.
The medium, but uwu flavoured.
Yeah.
I think not just having subtitles, but also the ability to change the size of the subtitles. 'Cause I've got a Steam Deck, and I can't play a lot of the games because the type is just too small.
Little,
And you know,
you could give me your Steam Deck if you want to.
No. Well, it is the community Steam Deck, so we can have it on weekends.
Where is my Steam Deck? Exactly.
No,
Send it to me.
We have one Steam Deck.
Come on, then.
It is ours.
You heard this. You heard this here first, chat. Martin is hogging the Steam Deck in the community Steam Deck. It's shocking. I'm shocked and appalled. I think
the newest. Okay, but I have one more quick one.
Okay, no problem. We're gonna play another video after.
Sorry.
I like the last thing about text, but have you guys seen the dyslexic font, which is the new thing?
I was literally thinking about it.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen it.
Good.
Oh, it's so cool. So it's like you differentiate between the sizes of the letters in the word to make it easier for people with dyslexia to read because it goes faster for us. So sometimes you can. I also heard that some people with neurodivergent can like benefit for the start of the word being bold. Like the letters in the start being bold and then the rest not being bold because you can read faster. And the dyslexia, you differentiate between a big letter and a small letter. I don't know when you do that. I haven't looked into that, but it is so that it's easier for you to see, okay, this is an A, this is a B, this is a D, because things like that often can just like flip in your mind. And it's so cool. And I've seen 2 games so far using it, and it's cool. And you can turn it on and off, so some people can find it a bit annoying, which makes sense. We all have our different preferences, so you can turn it on and off. And
it's. I mean, having font options in games is definitely. I am going to play a video in a second, but it always makes me. I am not somebody that uses Comic Sans, but when somebody does, I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, what's an ugly font?" I'm like. But it helps people with dyslexia, and the amount of times that people don't know that, and I'm like, no, Comic Sans does do that. It's supposed to help if you have dyslexia. It's supposed to help you read the words better. I'm like, that is amazing. So now I'm very much on team Comic Sans. But I am like going to I'm going to play another video, and then we're going to go on things that we wish we could see more of, which obviously I've been desperate to get onto because I'm just like, I keep talking about it. I keep jumping it's my brain, okay? I just have a little spicy brain. But we're going to play a video first. We're going to go on to Aaron. Aaron is a really good example of the kind of things that Special Effect are doing in terms of like the lives that they are changing and what like the kind of setups that they have to help people. It kind of goes in great detail through Aaron's setup, and he talks us through it very eloquently, better than I ever could. So I'm going to play that video for you now. Remember, !donate, and you can donate to. Don't worry, Martin. I got there. No, you worry. There we go. We got an !donate in the chat. That will take you to our donation link, where 100% of proceeds will go to Special Effect because we're having this panel today. We've been raising money all week for GameBlast, the 10th annual Special Effect GameBlast. So I'm going to play Aaron for you now, and then we'll be back.
My name is Aaron. I'm 15 years of age, and gaming is a true hobby of mine. My hands, I could notice they were just getting weaker, and I found it really hard to play games. And then the year progressed, and then I started getting a bit depressed because I just couldn't play anymore. It would be too exhausting. So I'll be honest, I didn't think Special Effects would be able to help me, but they tried different angles, different positions, and they made this brilliant system that I use today. It's changed my life, honestly. With my adaptive system, with my feet, I use 2 controllers. I use the joysticks, the A, B, X and Y buttons, and then I use 2 ultralight switches on my right hand, which I use for the triggers, and then 2 ultralight switches on my left hand, which I use for the bumpers. So I had everything that I would normally use on a standard controller adapted to me, and I could use them again. With my disability, I'm limited to do things. I don't want to sound like a gameaholic, but it was one of the only things I could do for enjoyment. So gaming has really opened up that door for me, and my life was restored back to the way it was. I was playing games. I had a social network like I did before. I had friends. It helps connect you to other people in this world. It's just fun, and it's something for me to do, to unwind from GCSEs and pressure and, you know, just life. So games do mean a lot to me. I don't know where I'd be without Special Effects. My hobby, gaming, it wouldn't be a thing anymore. So I'm really grateful for them for that.
Hello, we have returned. So that was Aaron. We were just talking about Aaron. We were just talking about how, for a start, just what an amazing dude Aaron is. But like Aaron's video gives a good idea of the type of setups, because it's hard to explain because there's so much to it. They do so much. So Aaron's video was really good for kind of showing what Special Effect do with. I mean, you could see there they weren't using adaptive controllers. They were using retail controllers and a retail setup, and so that he was able to, you know, he's got kind of like triggers for his hands, which are a little bit easier for his hands to use, and then everything else can be done using his feet. So that was Aaron. I hope you enjoyed that video. I always love watching that video. The next thing that we're going to go on to before we go on to like a Q&A is we're going to talk about things that we would like to see more of in the industry. So this doesn't mean that people, if they don't include this, they're doing a bad job, but it's good for developers to hear this, and so that they can be talking about this in their studios, and this is a conversation that definitely does need to be had in development studios.
Yep. Things to have your eyes on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So has anybody got like a jumping off point, anything that they would like
More
to...
audio sliders. Okay, I'm going to explain this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love games that have audio sliders for different levels of audio. You have games that like allow you to adjust your music, voices, sound effects, but most of the time that's usually the limit. And I think that a lot of games would benefit from having a more specific amount of sliders for people. One of the big thing for me is specifically loud noises as a result of PTSD. Games that have sudden shocking loud noises, and like I said earlier, I love horror games. Sometimes that can be a trigger, and it is not a great experience. And because these games sort of have like music, voice, sound effects, if I turn down sound effects, I can't hear anything, which means I can't hear footsteps, I can't hear things coming behind me or where they are. I would love either the option to have more sliders that are a bit more specific. So if it was a game with guns, it would be like gunfire,
explosions,
explosions. Yeah. Or alternatively, if games had something like a PTSD mode that was like something you could tick, where it just reduces like loud explosions and things that would be general triggers without reducing things like footsteps or sound effects that are useful for you to sort of navigate where you are. It's something that I think a lot of people benefit from, and I've spoken about this a few times with some other people where I feel like, you know how we were talking about earlier about how like that's specifically I'm saying that's designed as a PTSD thing, but it would benefit so many people, because I have this like thing I like to say where I'm like, if you design something for somebody with one specific condition, disability, a need, there's always going to be other people who have that same need. So it can also benefit other people who just generally struggle with loud noises, who have other kinds of triggers. And it's always going to be beneficial. And then there are also just people who are able-bodied and, fine, who just might be like, I don't like the sound of explosions. And they
or eating.
Yeah,
it can just be like
tiny little triggers, isn't it?
Yeah. In fact, eating's a really good one, because I know tons of people who can't stand the noise of chewing, and it creeps them out.
I am one of them.
Yeah, so like you think about games where like you might have people eating food and stuff. There's always worth thinking what is in your game that could be triggering to somebody, and especially audio is very key in that. We like to think about visual triggers. We tend to have warnings on games for triggers that are like, this game contains this sort of visual, but not a lot of people think about like the audio of games, and that's just something that I think that we could all really benefit from. So devs in the chat, check out your audio and where you are with your audio, because I think that could help an awful lot of people.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
what I want to see more of.
It's like with
this. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, why haven't I talked to Lee before? Because I also have PTSD, and I also think about that so many times.
Yeah.
And also, I wish more games have trigger warnings. And like, you don't need to have it as a thing in the game, but let us turn it on and let us have like a list of things we can turn on. I have medical trauma, and a lot of like sounds that like, just thinking about it starting to give me goosebumps. Yeah, you can't see it on camera, but like my hair is standing up, because like the sounds of a hospital for me is triggering.
Yes.
And this just the visual and the sound and just like things that I just can't deal with. I am lucky enough that a lot of the games I play is on stream, so I have a community that knows my triggers. And so many times they were just the best angels in life, and go like, just FYI, in 10 minutes you will hear this and this sound. They know they're not spoiling. They're just like, I can take off the headset or I can turn around. Because like I like, of course we know exposure therapy is good and all, but therapy needs to be done with therapists.
A controlled environment.
It
has to be a controlled environment. It's like I love horror. I love horror so much, but I have an extreme phobia of the dentist. And I'm not talking about like, I'm slightly frightened. It used to be, I say used to be because my current dentist has worked very, very hard over the course of 2 years to try and help. And it's sometimes, and you talk about like the exposure therapy. I've got to the point now where I can talk about, where like people can talk about the dental procedures in like, because it's a safe practice. They're like, oh yeah, I've had this done or this done. And I can talk about it now. I used to not be able to even do that. But as somebody that loves horror, your teeth is like the first place that people go to for the shock value.
That's the first thing that gets pulled, isn't it?
And,
It's like horror 101.
Poor Chris, my partner will be sat next to me and it'll just be happening. And I have to cover my ears and like make a loud noise and close my eyes. And then he gives me like a little gentle tap when he's like, it's over now. It's gone. And like because of just the sheer panic that it will send me into, and you know what? I'll be like, yeah, I think I'm getting through my phobia, and then that happens, and I'm reduced to like a puddle, and it's just, that's like a really good point, because I literally have to cover my ears because I can't hear it. I can't even hear what's going on. Because it triggers, my fight or flight response kicks in, and I feel like I'm going to be sick, and my heart starts racing, and I'm like sweating, and it's like an instant trauma response where I go, maybe I'm not as recovered as I thought I was. Maybe I'm.
And
not.
It doesn't need to be.
Got a good example of that, actually. I believe it's the Dead Space remake.
Yes, I was going to say it.
Yeah, you and me are just like, we know.
I haven't played it yet, but I have played the original.
Played the remake.
So in the remake, they added the accessibility option to have content warnings that show up in the corner of the screen, and
just before you go through to the zones, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
That created so much discourse. For what?
Yeah,
you can turn it off.
About it.
It is not even on by default. You literally have to go in and turn it on.
Turn it off if you don't want it.
Like, and people were just like, but why would you want to play a scary game if you have a phobia?
Because
and I was just like,
Space. It's iconic.
because it's fun. And like, I got my PTSD as a grown up. I used to play Dead Space as a kid, or I used to watch like Markiplier play it online. And like, I want to play that again, but I can't watch the hospital scene in Dead Space.
I don't put my body through that on my mind.
Like I need somebody. So like, if I can just get like it like blurred out and the sound reduced just through that scene, hey, I will pay you $60. Come on, they're like, which is oh god, yeah. Sorry for just going on a tantrum there.
That is okay.
This is good. This is
the discourse is silly. There's a lot of
It's
silly
about
geese.
preparing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like for some people with PTSD, it's not a case of you blanket can't do something. It's like if you have the warning, you can take a moment
You
to
can
sort of
see.
mentally prepare yourself, and you can go,
Center
am I
yourself.
in the right
Yes.
position for this?
Yeah, yeah.
And if you go no, you can either block it out, or you can just go, do you know what, I'm going to put this down for today and come back
Yeah.
to it when I'm in a
Yes.
better
When I'm
place.
feeling better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about mental health, PTSD, or, you know, everything in that sort of regard is it is a very fluctuating thing. You know,
It's
some
not
days you
linear.
can handle
Yes.
more than others.
It is not a linear process, and
No,
it's
not
also
at all.
entirely subjective as well.
And
You know,
I have something on that. Just like, I think there is like two things I think it's a bit important to remember in these discourse about accessibility or not, is that one of the first one, which may be a bit like scary for some people to think about, but most of us, if not every one of us, will either turn out to be disabled once in our life, or we will sadly die in a really young age. So some of us was disabled at a really young age, but most of us will end up there. And the work we do today is to do so when you're at the old folks' home, you can still play Fortnite.
Yeah,
I still play Fortnite.
You know what? It's not just that as well, but like people think like we humans are very squishy. And at any point, like you might get ill, you might get sick. I am very clumsy, and the joke that I frequently make is that one day I'm definitely going to get hit by a car because I'm not looking both ways.
Sorry for laughing.
That's okay, you can, but because I'm just
So
like
true.
the joke is I'll be like, well, I might as well buy this thing that I shouldn't buy because otherwise I'm putting myself into a financial freefall for the rest of the month. But I might get hit by a car when I go outside later, so I'm going to buy it anyway. But it's like the thing. Sorry, I'm cracking up now. But like the thing is, it doesn't just happen at old age. At any point in your life, my ex-girlfriend who is still somebody that I'm in touch with. They have been very openly documenting they have been recently diagnosed with MS, and they and like when we talked more, when we knew each other properly, never in a million years you'd go, oh yeah, that person is gonna need a walking stick for the rest of their life now. No, it just happened. She's she's my age. Yeah, she's 30. I'm 31. I'm 30. No, I'm 31. You hit your 30s and you've got lactose intolerance.
You're in your 30s.
Yeah,
That's it. That's it. You can't eat cheese anymore. But she's been very openly kind of documenting it, and her thing is, and I've always maintained this anyway, but her thing is like, this could just happen to you at any point. This can just happen. You're not invincible, you're not immune, like anything can happen, and you need to be thinking about these things for yourself but also for other people, so that if that happens, if you are in that situation, that you haven't spent your entire life you haven't wasted your entire life by getting angry about a jump scare warning in Dead Space. And that's so much energy wasted that you could have put that energy into doing something good for people.
You can
with
paint a picture. You can learn guitar. I don't know.
Learn the ukulele. It's impossible to be unhappy when you play a ukulele. I can't anymore because I have dagger fingernails. But I used to love playing the ukulele. But it's things like that, and it's like all of this energy that you could be putting into this useless discourse, you could instead be campaigning for Special Effect. You could be fundraising for Special Effect. You don't even need to be fundraising for Special Effect. If you can't donate, you can't fundraise, you don't have the means to fundraise, give somebody a retweet that is doing.
Yeah, shout about it.
Shout about it.
Use
talk
your
about
channels,
it.
use your voice
platform
to raise awareness.
Talk about it, because it's like, why? It just makes me. It makes the accessibility goblin come back out. There she is. She's been waiting this whole time, hoarding dice and eating cheese that she's not supposed to eat.
I think also what I sort of wish was more of was just the openness of understanding that accessibility is like a pie. If I want to make an apple pie, an accessibility pie, apple pie, and I want to bake, I can't just make the pie and then put the apple in afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would have pie and an apple, not an apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
This same analogy goes for accessibility. It is something you need to start thinking about early in the process, because a lot of feature you want to add will either be too costly or too hard to add if you don't think about it from the start.
Yep.
This is something I wish devs would understand, or just in general people would understand, that it takes training. People just don't jump one day and say like, haha, now I understand. They need to learn, they need to like course themselves, they need to like listen to people. When I do my thingamajiggies, podcast and stuff, I try to talk to people with different disabilities than I have.
Yes.
Because I just have my disabilities, which give me like this of what accessibility is, but it's so much more.
Yeah.
And I wish that is an understanding for both the audience and the gamers and also devs, that you need to educate yourself, and that is a lifelong journey that never ends about it, because it doesn't end for any of us. And you need to think about accessibility from the start, not just as options at the end.
Yeah.
And I also think that for like in general for people, gamers as well, is to understand, yes, AAA games have the funds and the money to have an accessibility team, but they are like a bank or a big bureaucracy. Things take time.
Yeah.
Somebody have an idea, give it 5 to 6 business months to get the like back and information about this. Like, things take time. And small indie games, which can do things like with just jumping, they have maybe not the means, the knowledge or the resources to add it. So this isn't something that we can just go in and say like everybody should do it from the second, but we can educate people on like how can you do it better in each situation. Yeah, sounded more smart in my head than what I thought.
No, very smart. No,
I understood it.
Completely right.
I was having a whole moment where I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly everything I love to talk about. Like, design your games with accessibility in mind. But it's very important, especially what you said about indies. It is something that people do not, especially I will say from like a gamer perspective, they don't sort of consider, is that they really don't have the funds and they don't have the means for a lot of accessibility. AAA tend to have a lot more resources, and it also, you know, it means that they are able to implement a lot more. But like you said, it is a long process because it's massive teams. It's about budgets. I am very strongly passionate about saying, you know, put your money where your mouth is and put your money into accessibility when you're making games, specifically at AAA. But when it comes to indies, it's very much like it can be a blessing that they do anything at all, because it's so difficult for indie games. And generally, I think like a lot of us will find that indie games are actually quite good with accessibility as a result. You know, because they do appreciate and they sort of design, I guess, like, I'm not saying every indie game is simple, but there is a simplicity in a lot of smaller indie games, which does tend to be more accessible.
And like the road between the devs and the community is really small. So like they can just go on Twitter and say like, hey, talk to me directly. Do you have a problem? Or you, one player, have a problem? You can't do that as a AAA. Yes.
There's a bunch of indie games that I play frequently that like are just like one person developers, and there's like this line between, you're like, oh my god, one person made this game, and then they are just constantly hot fixing it because one person said this doesn't run on my like 90s old computer, and they're like, do you know what, I'm gonna see if I can fix it. But when it comes to much bigger games, it doesn't work that way. The community is much more distance from it, and you know, it does involve a lot more bureaucracy because you're having to go through having accessibility teams. But one of the biggest things I think for AAAs is, like, most importantly, ensuring they have accessibility teams, ensuring that those teams are educated, constantly trained. And my biggest thing I will say is that have accessible QAs. people who do accessibility specialism.
100%.
And they have, like, I'm not saying everybody who does accessibility work in general has to be disabled, but hire disabled people to do your accessibility teams, to do your accessibility QA, your consultancy, you know, pay people for their time, because you are going to get the best results from people who have disabilities. And like you said, you know, like, if you're disabled, you just have your disability. Like, you cannot account for people who have disabilities that you don't have. You can educate yourself constantly, and you know, much what we do is just constantly making sure that we know all the information we can, but you are always going to get the best result if you go directly to somebody who has that disability and say, look, what do you need? What will make this experience better for you? I definitely think there's a lot more that like bigger studios could do by sort of talking to people and doing research and paying those people for their time, because you know, the only way we're going to make accessibility better is by finding out who needs what.
And I also, a lot of time I talk to people and gamers, so I see a lot of people have this view of businesses, and which is like, but they only think about the baseline. But then I want to say, well, accessibility is thinking about the baseline, that is thinking about money. Because I have my degree in business, and I wrote papers on this saying, like, well, you have a given market, but tapping into the accessibility, disability market is a open market. It has been like the last 2 or 3 years, because the fact is that most games you can, especially in Europe with our rules and regulations of how you can like get your money back if you are not happy with the product. A lot of people with disability buys a game and then request the money back if they can't pay it. Well, here you go. Here you lost both the $60 and the transfer costs, because you have to take that as business. So you lost twice. Like, you lost more than what you could have gained for just adding something so simple like text. Or like trigger warnings, or scrolling for sound. Like, there is so basic things, but I also think that I wish we would have, which I've seen some developers do, but I wish more developers did, share the information, share the knowledge. Right now, a lot of that focus is on us who are accessibility advocates to sit on Twitter and I make TikToks, I make Twitter, I make blog posts, and like, but I am not a dev. Where are the devs? I know some devs do it. Don't make me wrong. I know some so good at it, but it's still something like some people hold like a bit hidden. And for me, that is a bit like, nah, come on. If you can get 1 in 5 of every gamer has some kind of disability. 1 in 5 of all the world population have some sort of disability, or like lesson ability, because disability is a word that has a lot of meanings for a lot of different nations. So, but they have some sort of the ability that doesn't work as good as it should. That is a huge market to tap into. And if you can make, like, say 20 million people wanting to start gaming, that is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And you have to like start tapping into it. And if you learn small indie games how to do this, it will help, because these people who start, I know so many people who started out with Stardew Valley that now play like Dead Space. Because they started out with something they felt that they could master, and now they have like learned the basic gaming 101. Games aren't as scary anymore, and they've started to like just evolve into more and more games, more and more difficult games. And I can talk about this well.
It's part of it's part of kind of the power of the internet as well. I was just thinking about this earlier because I was thinking about accessibility. It's been one of those weeks, but it was just kind of like, I was just thinking, so TikTok is a massive platform, and one of the things I love about TikTok is especially in game development TikTok, there's a lot of like people just sharing what they're doing. They're like, this is what I'm doing to be more accessible in my little indie game. We don't have a lot of money, but tell me if this is correct. Like, do you have a disability? Please, can you tell me if I'm doing something wrong? But because I don't know, because I've not thought about it. So, and it's a lot of that kind of information, but like just thinking about like, this isn't gaming related as such, but talking about like the kind of spreading of information. There was a case on TikTok a couple years ago where a person with Parkinson's disease, which I do think about a lot, and is very much in my algorithm because my granddad had multiple system atrophy. All of those words together are terrible, but that's kind of like super Parkinson's, and this person had posted this TikTok out saying, here is the medication that I need to get into, my Parkinson's medication that I need to get, that I desperately need to access. It's a push down screw top medication. And he was like, I understand that this is so that your kids don't eat it, but as somebody with Parkinson's, I find it really difficult to push something down and unscrew it. And because of this one video, somebody managed to design
a 3D print.
Somebody designed it and patented it so that it was free for anybody to use, so that nobody could like gobble it up and make people spend loads of money on it. They got they got this patented print. They sent it to a 3D printer, and the person 3D printed it and sent it to this person that had originally put this video out saying, I can't get into the Parkinson's bottle. My medication bottle, not the Parkinson's bottle. That sounds awful. They couldn't get into it. So they sent it over to them, and they were like, "This is great." As somebody who could test it, somebody with experience who could test it. This is touching on what you said earlier, Lee, about bringing people in that have that experience, that can talk about it. So they gave it to this person and went, what do you think of this? And they were like, wow, this is literally life-changing. Why has nobody thought about this before? Like, why is this not a thing in medicine? And now they're working with the Michael J. Fox Foundation to, like, be able to send these things out because for some bizarre reason we still haven't, like, this is still not medically a thing that we've done. And it's just things like that that's like, people haven't thought about it, but then they have somebody there with experience that's sharing their story and going, hey, this kind of sucks, and the internet kind of came together and went, oh well, maybe we should do that, and like work together, and now they were able to help. I don't know how many people have Parkinson's, probably millions. It's unfortunately very common, and
but it is typical.
How many people have they helped with that?
Yeah. And it is typical also because like a lot of things in the medical field like are made by doctors and physical therapists who are healthy human beings. Mm-hmm. And they don't understand how it is to have a non-healthy body. And like it's the same with like if you work at a company that is like a high-paced company and you try to make your game accessible, well, most likely all the people around you don't have like it isn't fatigue because they can't like work in an environment like that, or if your building aren't accessible, nobody who need a cane or wheelchair will work there. They won't apply for your job because they can't enter the premises. So you make a world where people with disabilities or chronic illness aren't a part of your world, and there is actually logical, and it is no fault of their own, but nobody can. Well, some people can, but they are genius. Think about something that doesn't exist for them in their worldview. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't talked to somebody who are deaf, somebody who are blind, somebody who are hard of hearing, have pain problems, are chronic fatigue, you don't know they exist, or they're like things that they face every single day, because it's nearly impossible for you to just imagine it. Mm-hmm. You need to talk to people, which is so. Like more game devs, a lot of them are nice, but good at it. But like, talk to your community.
Communication, isn't it?
Communication.
It's about communication.
Because there is a gold mine of information out there. Talk to the people. Like, and when people say something is quote unquote wrong with your game, don't think at it as like it's wrong in what you have done, but think at it as a okay, but this is thing we can improve. And it is hard because I think about if I work on something really, really long and somebody criticizes, of course it never feels good. Yeah. But it's not criticizing you. It is criticizing a system that you are sort of part of right now.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, with the internet is we've got Twitter, we've got the social, the forums, Reddit, whatever. The information, there are people out there like yourselves, Arevya and Lee, who want to help people, with this information, and and social media is a great place for that. But devs, I think also devs need to want to listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well,
Yes.
because they are often it's their projects, as with some devs they're very much this is my project and I'm not going to let anyone else have any input or touch it or anything. It's very personal. These things are, as with an artist with his portrait, did Da Vinci have anyone input on the Mona Lisa? We don't know, but they're very personal to them. But I think now the world we live in is very much more inclusive, and we need to be more open and communicate with each other more. I think
it's getting better.
It is
slowly, and sometimes the internet can make it feel a little bit like it's going backwards. But it is getting better. We're thinking about it so much. There's so many options in games now, especially in games where even things like God of War. My partner Chris absolutely loves God of War. I have this weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. Where sometimes I struggle to play a character that I can struggle to connect with. If it's like an adventure game with a character that you have to choose, if I struggle to connect with them, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a neuro-seasoned thing. It always is. It's the seasoning. A little bit of sea salt, a little bit of MSG. We love our MSG in this house. But it's just that. For example, Chris was playing through it, and he was like, "Oh, they have an option where you can amp up the help prompts, or you can turn down the help prompts that Mimir gives you." For those of you that don't know, he's the sassy talking head. He's very Scottish, and we love Mimir. But he's the talking head that is usually permanently attached to Kratos' belt, and he'll give you prompts, and you can choose to either just have him just talk constantly and go through everything with you in detail, or you can get him to be a little bit quieter. And there's things like that I feel 5 years ago we wouldn't have even thought about. So I feel it's definitely getting better, and it's progressing, and it's important
100%.
not to feel disheartened. And hi brother, yes,
my
Scottish accent isn't too bad. I used to live in Scotland, but he's the I lived in the not posh bit of Scotland. He's got very soft spoken Scottish, but it's easy when you see the discourse to feel disheartened. This goes to people in chat as well. It goes to people on this panel. But just it is getting better, and as somebody that is working in the games industry as well, somebody that's actively working in the games industry without a physical disability, probably, I do have a brain one though. Oh come on, Harry! You were about to go psh, inspirational. Psh, go. There we go. We are listening. We are. I don't know, I can't speak for every company, but of all of my friends and people that I know in the industry, we are listening, and we will listen to you.
Yes.
And if you have suggestions, please send those suggestions in. We might not be able to do anything about them, especially if we were saying before about little indie companies, especially when it's just one person on their own, one very, very tired person that's just kind of
but there's always
all
the
I've
next
drank is
project.
Red Bull and whiskey for the last 5 days.
Just what I was going to say. Maybe they can't add it to this, but it can start a wheel of thought of
Yes.
oh, okay, so I need to start doing this. So next time when they have an idea and plans and stuff like that, it just because knowledge is something you can't know. You don't have knowledge unless you know about it. It's really complicated. So share it and talk about it.
Yeah.
Do we have time for a very quick QA? Q&A, question and answer. Does anybody need to leave?
You were like, quick QA, and I was just like, wait, am I back at work?
Lee, we've got this new test.
Lee,
I need you to walk into this wall for 5 hours while jumping up and down for me. QA are truly the unsung heroes, because that's the ones where you go, do you just play games every day? I'm like, no, I walked into a wall for 5 hours.
Oh my god, yeah. I get like twitches when people just go, oh, you just play games for a living. And I'm just
the same level.
Over
for
and
37
over.
hours a week, the same level. Yeah.
I get that with Chris sometimes. He's like, what have you been up to today? I'll be like, I've been capturing game footage. He's like, you've been playing games all day, haven't you? I'm like...
Did I approve?
Technically,
this was
yes.
when I was on holiday.
This is when you were on holiday, Martin. I was just like, I'll do that. Yeah. You want me to spend a whole week on it? No problem.
QA sounds like the accounting of the gaming world. Like you punch the same hundreds of numbers every single day and go like, yes, thank you. I have just put on 20,000 numbers.
Yes.
And then I press delete and I have to start over.
You play
because
games all day.
Punching the numbers and then trying to figure out where the numbers came from and how math existed in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. Right, it sounds like my job as well, because like our program, like I don't know what it is, but in accounting, like they stopped evolving programs in like 2005. I don't know what it is, but like I do Bowser's like asking questions to the program, which is things like nobody does anymore, which is like basic asking a program to give you numbers. It's so weird. Sorry for a tangent there, but
No, please stop apologizing. Don't apologise. I've just said please stop apologising as if I don't frequently apologise to my pen.
Tangent. Everybody needs a little bit of accounting in their stream.
Exactly.
I need to be a sad potato, administration potato with somebody else who understands.
Ooh, Iliosome has a question for you, Lee.
Oh no!
Yeah.
No, I'm being called out about this experience. Oh dear. Okay, fine. I will admit this on stream. The first time I played Sea of Thieves, I had a terrible experience because it's nothing to do with the game. It was because I was not experienced. This is a long time ago. So imagine when Sea of Thieves first came out.
Chris is like,
I did not have a good concept of what multiplayer games were like, and I didn't really know what people on the internet were like.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, and like people were like, like every time I got on the boat and the boat would get like destroyed and they were just killing me, and I just got like visibly upset and was like shouting at them, why won't you let me just have fun?
Oh no.
No.
But like I get it now
brutal.
because I know what people are like. I know that's just how. But at the time, I was so innocent. I went on and I was like, I thought I was just gonna have pirate fun.
Yeah, you're just gonna sit down, drink grog, and sing sea shanties on deck.
Yeah.
You're like Steed Bonnet. You just like.
I love the reference.
An innocent experience, and it wasn't. But I went back to it a little while later, and like I think like a year or so later, and I did some fishing, and that was quite nice. I just got left alone to do some fishing.
That's what Chris worked on.
It was lovely. And funnily enough, I think it was like 2 nights ago, I had to record some footage for a YouTube video I'm doing, and I had to get a clip of Sea of Thieves. Now, the other thing about Sea of Thieves that's really hard for me is I have a massive phobia. I have like hydrophobia. I can't deal with water. I can't deal with big bodies of water. Oh my god!
It's going to be it's just like thalassophobia. That's the thing that I was going to talk about. That I was like, I wish I could see more of in games. Add a skippable underwater level option.
Yeah,
I'm terrified.
I'm so terrified. And when I was doing the video and I was recording it, I had to get a recording in the water because it's like I've written a script and it needed me to be in the, and I just sat there and I was like, oh, this is horrible. And I'm like this far away. I'm like,
no, Chris.
Record. And I was feeling like physically
no, thank you.
Because it's so good. It's so good. The game is fantastic, but I was like looking at it, I can't deal with this. And it was quite.
Oh god!
I walked out of the water, And as I turned around, there was a shark right behind me.
Oh no!
And I was just like,
They
exit.
sneak
And
up on you,
I'm
those
out.
sharks, as well. Do you know what?
It's like what is it called? The Subnautica and the Reapers. I've never felt more like a sweet summer child. The time that somebody told me just swim to the end of the boat, it's shallow there, and you can be safe.
Evil.
And I turn around and I see a Reaper, and I screamed so loud I ruined my first set of microphones streaming. So there we go. Oh
Yeah,
God!
Do you know what?
I can only watch videos. I can't play it.
Do you know what is? You know, you were talking about fishing in Sea of Thieves. So Chris, who's in the chat right now, actually helped implement a accessibility setting recently, where a little thing pops up and it tells you the name of the fish now. Because you just have to be like even I was just like, what is that?
You're telling me I need to go back to Sea of Thieves just to fish?
Just to fish. Yes. Just sit on the beach.
Because I'm up for that. Fishing's my favourite thing. I love
any
any game that is fishing. But
Bassmasters.
there we go. It's not accessibility, but if there are any devs watching, whatever you're making, put a fishing mini game in it.
Well, they added it to Skyrim, didn't they?
Levels.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, eventually added it to Skyrim. So.
Please, I'd love skippable underwater levels. There are so many games that I absolutely love. It came from, I never used to be frightened of the sea, but when I was about 6, I played, and I love this game to this day, I'm going to preface that with this, but I played Tomb Raider 2. 40 Fathoms, the mission 40 Fathoms. Tomb Raider.
That's where it came from me.
Really? That gave me a lifelong fear of water levels because, and this is for anybody that hasn't played it or has only ever played like recent games.
I have, but originally when it came out, so my memory is shot.
Yes, that's when I played it. I was like 7 years old. But what used to happen with video game levels is they couldn't render the whole area. So it used to just be like black around you. There'd be like a black box in front of you. And then when you swam like towards it, that's when more of the level would load in. 40 fathoms, just sharks would just come out of the dark and just bite you. They'd just come out of like this, there'd just be black darkness and a shark would just come out of nowhere. And that gave me a lifelong fear. And now I can't be in the sea. Like, nah.
Yeah, it was like the same for me. Tomb Raider ruined water for me. The only other addition, though, I will say, is the Sonic drowning music, which, I feel like there's a generation of gamers that have genuine PTSD from hearing the Sonic like drowning music. And again, I had to record that, and I just sat there and I was like, I don't like this.
Just the stress noises.
Yeah.
Yes, Jamie was going to mention the Sonic underwater levels, but I'm going to wrap it up, I think. Because all I've eaten today is a Kit Kat and a packet of crisps, and we were talking about cheese earlier, and I know that I have some tummy-safe cheese, so that I don't get a tummy ache. You've got biscuits, you've always got biscuits. Yeah. We love biscuits.
I am known as the Biscuit Baron. I have some giant Oreos still from this stream the other day. So.
You can't beat a chocolate hobnob. That should have been an icebreaker question. It should have been your favourite biscuit.
All biscuits.
In fact, you know
equal.
what? Yeah. Norway, they have these crisps. Oh, I'm so jealous of you living in Norway. Not just for the snacks, but also, it's so clean. The air is so nice. But in Norway, they have these crisps, like super salted crisps. They're like cone shaped, and they cover them in chocolate.
Oh, Smash!
Oh my god! Please send me some Smash.
It's so good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I can send you some Smash. I'll send you some Smash.
Oh my god.
Are they like our pretzel flips? You know, like salted pretzels covered in chocolate.
So much better.
It's more. I'll send you, and you can take it with to the office.
Oh my god.
You can learn about the Lord and Saviour Smash.
The next time I come to Norway, I'm just going to buy like a ton of bags and then just bring them over to the UK and be like, look, this is what we need in the UK.
Set up a little side hustle.
There's only so many cream eggs a gal can eat, right?
Yeah, none for me.
Oh, I love cream eggs. I love cream eggs, but I know I'm going to be like...
Very sickly.
Yeah, I can have one in Easter. That's an Easter egg thing here in Norway. Yeah, I can have one. That's it.
Oh, I'm really hungry.
We started the
Quietly
stream
being
talking
hungry right
food,
now.
Yeah.
and we end the stream talking food.
Yes.
Food is the thing that brings us all together.
Food is
I
life.
can
We were
smell my
accessi-
dinner now, so yeah.
Oh my god. Right, yes. Right, oh my gosh. So we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to say goodbye to our wonderful panellists. But please, panellists, just stay in the call just for a second. But I will go back to my solo screen. But we're going to say goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining, and thank you to Arevya and Lee as well for joining us on the stream today.
Lovely.
It's been fantastic.
It was really fun.
Wonderful having you, honestly.
And I'm sure there's still lots more we can talk about.
We could literally talk for hours.
Then we shall look to do maybe a part 2 in the future. Totally.
We could talk about accessibility forever. And I'd love to do more.
I think it's important.
Like
it's important. We should be talking about it. It needs to talk until it isn't an issue. It is just there. It's just everyone has access to games, regardless of their ability or disability.
Yes. Everybody should have access to games.
Yeah.
Like, what a hobby. What an amazing hobby.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much to Lovely Chat for sticking with us. And thank you so much to our panellists. Thank you, Arevya. Thank you, Lee, for coming along. Lee, I invited you in pretty, this week. And you were just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm up for that. So thank you so much for jumping in last minute. In my stress-addled state, you were just like, yeah, I'm up for doing that. I'm like, thank you, you saint. So I'm gonna flick over to the solo. Everybody wave. There we go. I'm gonna go over to the solo mode now. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We do still have one more GameBlast stream tomorrow. That is with Martin at midday. That is 12 p.m.
12. Yeah, it's 12 p.m.
GMT.
Yes. Yeah.
We're still in GMT.
Yeah,
unfortunately, one day we'll be in BST soon. 5 weeks, I think. Oh God, I hope so. But that is tomorrow. Martin's going to be doing a retro gaming session from 12 p.m. onwards. So
a couple of hours.
Yeah, for a couple of hours. This is where I'll check in at 7 p.m. and Martin's just there glazed over eyes.
That level.
Yeah. So Martin's going to be doing some retro gaming tomorrow. So that is going to be super, super, super exciting. Obviously, GameBlast is happening all weekend, including tonight. So you just type in GameBlast in the search bar on Twitch. GameBlast is one word, and it will bring up a whole host of everybody who is fundraising for GameBlast. For those of you that don't know, we've talked about it a lot, but GameBlast is SpecialEffect's annual gaming event where they do a big fundraising event. What I will do is I'm going to end the stream, but I am going to end the stream with a video. I'm going to end the stream with... We're going to end the stream with Lucinda, and then the stream will just come to a close. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. We will be back again tomorrow at 12 p.m, so don't miss that either. Bye!
I'm Kerry, I'm Jada's mum. Jada is almost 9. Has always wanted to play computer games, but never been able to. Jada's got cerebral palsy and finds fine motor skills very difficult, so the hand controls are extremely difficult. She's now got switches, a large switch for the main jumping and shooting, and then the smaller switches and joysticks, which is good for her fine motor skill because she has to use a joystick. Once Jada got the equipment, that was her off, and her words were, "I'm now a gamer," and she's been playing it and having a time of her life. Also, it's something she can play with her friends and not be excluded. She's now in the mainstream, playing games with mainstream children. She's now like her friends. Or her and her dad will sit and play football. It's just having fun. And it's lovely to watch. Absolutely lovely to watch. I just think Special Effects are amazing, and what they've done for Jada has been amazing. And thank you. Thank you so, so much. Come on,